Hello everyone. You often request more show and tells, so this is a new one. And in this video we're going to have a look at a reproduction of an ancient Egyptian papyrus, and I'm going to comment on it for you. So we will talk about beliefs and funerary rites in ancient Egypt. Just a couple announcements before we start. First, I wish to let you know that I have created a page on Facebook for this channel. You will find the link in the description. I will use this page for news, updates, surveys, and new videos, so I'll be happy to see you there. And second, my next video will be about black holes, and it should be available in a few days, because this is the topic that won your votes in the last survey I had organized. Okay, so let's go. But before we look at the document, I wanted to show you what the papyrus plant looks like. This is one. I cultivate papyrus in my garden, so I took this opportunity to cut one and show you what it looks like. These are the leaves, and this is the stem. I just cut the head of it. You see that the stem is triangular. The plant can be up to 10 feet high or even more, so this is really just the upper part. And this plant comes from Africa. It can be found in various regions of the continent, and it was particularly abundant in the north of Egypt, the delta of the Nile. During the antiquity, it tends to disappear now. Papyrus was very useful in ancient Egypt. The stem was used to make the kind of paper the Egyptians used. The head was used for decoration. The root could be also burnt for fuel or used to make bowls or other things. So papyrus had a very important role in the ancient Egyptian civilization. But let's now have a look at the papyrus itself, which is a scene taken from the so-called Book of the Dead in the ancient Egyptian civilization. And the reproduction that comes from an original called Hunefer's papyrus, found in the tomb of a man called Hunefer, who lived in the 14th century before Christ, during the New Kingdom in Egypt, represents the judgment of the dead in front of the gods, and it's his entrance, his journey to paradise. You know that for the ancient Egyptians, death and the religious beliefs associated with it were extremely important, including during their lives. So when they could afford it, they were buried with a document, the Book of the Dead, that represented the scenes and contained the magic spells that would guide them through their journey in the afterlife. And this is Hunefer's Book of the Dead. So we see the same person, Hunefer, represented various times, like the different steps of his judgment in front of the gods. So first, in the upper part of the papyrus, we see him confessing in front of 14 different gods. Some of them can be recognized. This is Ra. He can be identified sun above his head. This is Maat, the goddess of justice. She has a feather, an ostrich feather, above the head. Sekhmet, the goddess with a lion head. This is Horus. We can be sure of that because there is a little falcon nearby, the symbol of Horus. So first the dead was making this confession, and the scene took place under a sky full of stars that represent the upper part of the world. This confession was quite different from the Christian confession, because the deceased did not confess sins. He defended himself by making a list of all the sins, all the mistakes he didn't make. And after, he was taken by the god Anubis to a scale where his soul would be weighed. The name of this whole scene, for that reason, is the weighing of the soul. So his soul, represented by his heart, was placed on one pan of the scale and weighed against a feather, the symbol of Maat, the goddess of justice. There is another representation of Maat here above the scale. And in case of a failure, if you didn't pass the test, there was a monstrous creature here called Amnet or Amit, made with body parts from a lion and a crocodile, that was here to devour the souls of the deceased who had sinned during their life. On the right we have Thoth, the god of knowledge and wisdom, who takes note of the judgment. Then, assuming the deceased had passed the examination of his soul, he was taken to Osiris, the god of the underworld, the master of the afterlife. And Osiris is represented here sitting on a throne with two goddesses, two sisters, Isis and Nephthys. If we pay attention to the throne itself, we see that there is a little door at the bottom that represents the entrance of the world of the dead. In the ancient Egyptian mythology, this is one of the most ancient legends. Osiris appears as a god who was killed by his brother Set, the god of war, and in order to prevent Osiris from being reincarnated or entering the world of the dead, Set had cut his body into various parts and hid the parts all over Egypt, all over the world. And the two sisters, Isis and Nephthys, searched for the body parts, recreated Osiris' body, and thanks to them, he could come back to life and become the master of the underworld. I'm going to give you a bit more time to have a look at the details of the papyrus. Here we see the gods in the confession scene we spoke about at the beginning. There is Sekhmet, Horus, and the last ones represent provinces of Egypt. I like this papyrus, even though it's just a reproduction. I find it very well made, and they have respected the hieroglyphs, the colors, all the details that make it thank you for watching this, and I'll see you soon for another video.